Okay. Okay.
Are you ready?
Good morning and welcome to the regular meeting of the Board of Water and Power Commissioners. Today is Tuesday, October 10th. This proceeding is being broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. Board of Water and Power Commissioners, please say present for roll call. Commissioner KATZ.
Present.
Commissioner LEHRER. President McCLAIN-HILL.
Present.
Commissioner McCraw.
Present.
Vice President NEEMAN Brady. 3 board members, a quorum is present. Madam President.
Terrific, and thank you. I would like to begin my remarks this morning by acknowledging Hispanic Heritage Month. Since we are nearing the end, I wanted to take time to note this important annual cultural celebration. Hispanic Heritage Month is celebrated nationally beginning September 15th to October 15th. September 15th also marks the independence of Latin American countries such as Guatemala, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Honduras, and Nicaragua. September 16th marks the Independence Day for Mexico and Chile. During this time, we celebrate the histories, cultures, and contributions of those whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. The perspectives and backgrounds of the Hispanic culture are beautiful, remarkable, and help make the fabric of our city colorful and diverse. Just to give you a little bit of background, the observance of Hispanic Heritage Month began in 1968 as Hispanic Heritage Week under President Lyndon Johnson, and it was expanded by President Ronald Reagan to cover the full 30-day period on August 17, 1988. This celebration has continued since celebrating the 63 million Hispanics in the United States today. They make up our nation's largest racial or ethnic minority, 19.1% of our total population. Every day, they contribute to our country and to their communities in many professions and industries, including business, manufacturing, education, culture, art, food, and the medical field, and of course, in the utility industry. Hispanics comprise 39% of the LADWP workforce, serving the department and our city through their important work in all aspects of our operations. These numbers tell a story of dedication and commitment and a strong work ethic that is helping to build a stronger LA. They are your line workers, your meter readers, your utility service managers, security officers, water utility workers, facility managers, department heads, serving the department and the city day in and day out. We are all very proud to celebrate our Latino leaders, employees during Hispanic Heritage Month and year-round. I want to thank you all for those who have participated in the celebratory events this month and invite you to view the opening tomorrow of De Colores Presente, an exhibit showcasing work by local Latino artists in display right here at the John Ferraro Building lobby. In addition, on Thursday, there's a screening downstairs in our auditorium of a very important film, which I also invite you to attend. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge the events of this weekend. And while I would not presume to offer any political observations or commentary, I do want to say that whether it occurs down the street or halfway a world away, violence impacting members of this community deserve to be acknowledged and to be let me say, the loss of life has been staggering. The impact on our friends, our family members, and residents all across Los Angeles, undeniable. This department, like the rest of LA, is in shock, in mourning, and stands in solidarity with our workforce family, our city family, our nation. I urge all of you, whether affected directly or allies, to be strong, to be supportive, to be in service. And while it is so difficult to know what to say or what to do, at a minimum, stand ready. With that, I will move to open our meeting with general public comments unless there are additional remarks. Okay.
Public comment is open at this time. Good morning, speakers. Be mindful that there are 2 minutes. The first speaker is Conrad Sisson.
Good morning, and thank you, Madam President, for those comments, fellow board commissioners and colleagues today. My name is Conrad Sisson. I'm Assistant General Counsel for the AIDS Healthcare Foundation. First of all, AHF expresses its gratitude and appreciation for the board's commitment to the Project Powerhouse Initiative in accordance with Mayor Bass's emergency declaration. Those efforts have led to the successful rehabilitation and operation of AHF's King Edward property, located at 121 East 5th Street, where we now provide 154 affordable housing units in the Skid Row area of Los Angeles. AHF, however, has recently been presented with challenges arising from the timeliness of the department's services necessary to meet its power needs for 2 current AHF projects. The first is the Renaissance Center, which is to be constructed at a vacant site at the corner of 7th Street and San Julian Street. Once completed, the Renaissance Center will have 215 units reserved for extremely low income and unhoused individuals. The department has assisted to date in the vault design for the project. However, we are now nearing 90 days without resolution. The second project is at the Barclay Hotel, located at 103 West 4th Street, where we plan to offer 158 affordable housing units in Los Angeles. We have applied for temporary power, which we have, and the department has been gracious to assign 3 different engineers to the project. Unfortunately, we are now at 60 days of the service planning phase and without resolution. AHF respectfully requests the board's assistance in facilitating the timely completion of the power infrastructure needs for these 2 particular projects pursuant to the Project Powerhouse Initiative. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
In addition to the speaker, there was 1 e-comment, which has been distributed to all commissioners. There are no other commenters. Public comment is now closed.
Thank you. A report by our General Manager and Chief Engineer, Mr. Benjamin.
Good morning, Board President. Thank you for the opportunity to make a few comments. I'll start with the grant announcement by the State Water Board. On October 5th, Mayor Bass and our board president, McCLAIN-HILL, and other state and local officials made the announcement of having $19.1 million grant from the state to the department to fund the climate resiliency projects, including that the program that will pay for yard transformation in underserved LA communities. About $14.6 million of that grant will be dedicated, to the program, which has the lawn replacement program under the supervision of the department and the qualified contractors that would go and replace these lawns. And that's a large amount of savings that will come out of that program. It's about 77 million gallons of water each year that we would save by having this program implemented. The estimated installation also will, the 1.775 million square feet of lawn replacement will impact the service to those communities by saving water and actually helping those communities be resilient on the climate change and all those issues that we're dealing with. The remainder of the funds, the 4.5 million of those funds, will be dedicated to the Dominguez Gap Recycled Water Project in the city of Wilmington, and that project will also deliver about 3.5 million gallons per day of advanced treatment recycled water, serving about 47,000 customers per year. So that's overall, that's a great benefit for all the communities and also supplying all the gains that we will get from those programs into our efficiency programs. The second announcement is the Filipino American Heritage Month. In addition to Hispanic Heritage Month, October includes a number of national initiatives and celebrations that are recognized at the department. October also marked the beginning of Filipino American Heritage Month. The Aspire and the Office of DEI are supporting two events this month celebrating the Filipino Heritage Month, commemorating the importance of the Filipino community. And we know that the Filipino community is well represented within the department staff. Last week on October 4, Aspire joined the Los Angeles Filipino Association and LAFACE and the Board of Public Works Commissioner Susana Reyes to present a resolution at the City Council marking the occasion. Later this month, LADB is sponsoring a tree lighting ceremony at the City Hall on October 20th, and we encourage the employees and the community to join us at those celebrations. The third announcement is the Cybersecurity Awareness Month. LADWP is extremely focused on protecting our infrastructure and making sure that we are always having these programs at the front of our training with the employees' awareness, providing the education, providing the tools, and we have a mandatory training that our employees are going through, and also a lot of the educational programs and the awareness to make sure that cybersecurity is never forgotten, as we do our operations, that we perform our operations safely and make sure that they're protected. The fourth announcement is the Clean Air Day. LADP once again is sponsoring a California Clean Air Day. This is the 6th year that we are involved in sponsoring this event, and many of our employees are personally involved in making sure they are dedicating their resources and their commitments to making a difference in celebrating this Clean Air Day. This highlights the individual contributions that all of us can make, and the department is supportive of those programs. And also we had many of the advanced technologies in car manufacturers, BMW, Ford, Kia, Tesla, Volkswagen, and a lot of these dealerships came in and showcased the advancement in the clean transportation segments, and many of the nonprofits also had exhibits where they displayed their commitment to celebrating this day. The fifth announcement is the Owens Valley Job Fair. This coming Thursday, October 12th, we are hosting a fall Owens Valley Job Fair led by the Communications and Corporate Strategies in coordination with the Recruitment Services of the Aqueduct Division. This virtual event shares information with participants on the step-by-step process of how to find and apply for LADWP jobs, and highlights the specific opportunities available in the Owens Valley. Attendees will also hear LADWP employees who worked and live in Eastern Sierra region. This is our 3rd year hosting an Owens Valley job fair. Previous events have been well attended, and look forward to another great event this Thursday. This is a great way for us to embed our recruitment and hiring processes in a community that we've served for many, many decades. The last announcement, this is the we have a presentation by our Society of Hispanic and Professional Engineering group. We always enjoy those presentations, and our employees in the Central American Independence Festival parade on September 17th, they were participants, and they had a great role to play with that. So we're looking forward to hearing their presentation, and we have a short video that will play right before they present. But I wanted to, make sure that they know that we have the video, and then when they do the presentation, we'll have that video presented to the board.
Perfect, thank you. Are there any comments or questions regarding the general manager's report?
I have a quick one for you, RM. Do you know if the Owens Valley Job Fair was communicated out to our tribal partners?
Let me double check on that. I'm sure it was. I don't want to give information that's not.
No problem.
accurate.
I know we're without a tribal liaison right now, so I just want to make sure that information gets to them, because that's a great recruitment base for us.
Yes. Let me get the information. I'll get it back to you.
Thank you.
Anything else? All righty. Motions for future consideration? I am aware of none at this time. Comments from our ratepayer advocate? Good morning. Good morning, sir.
One comment on item L4 concerning Valley Generating Station. We support the passage of this item, although we would recommend at least annual progress reports on this coming back. And because of deadlines in the project, we shouldn't hold this item up, but we could see if we could add a simple request for annual or more frequent progress reports.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Do we have any neighborhood impact?
No community impact statements or formal positions were filed by any neighborhood councils on any of the items on today's agenda.
Terrific, thank you. I am looking at the items considered for approval. I see that item L7 is deferred by request of legal counsel. And if I could have a presentation on L1, that would be great. Are there any other items? Is there a motion?
I move to approve. Well, are we going to hold on L1 then?
Yes.
So we're going to move to approve L2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10, and incorporate the recommendation of the OPA into
L4?
Into L4.
All righty.
Great, I second.
Commissioner KATZ?
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner McCraw?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
Thank you. That brings us to management reports, and as Mr. Benjamin has indicated, we're going to begin with a management report from the LA Department of Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. We're going to cue the video.
I think we're going to show the video first. So Reggie, if you can tee up the COFECA video. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I just asked him to cue the video, but I think he is that.
We're here because we're celebrating the Central American independence, and myself, as a fellow Central American Guatemalan, I am happy to be here and be present in this event.
I've been with the department for 3 years, and to see how much has grown over the past 3 years in terms of events and representation throughout LA really means a lot to me as a Peruvian American. Not only to be part of this festival, as you can see, we have lots of people that have shown up to support us.
It's important for the Department of Water and Power to be here representing within our community of Los Angeles and our Central American communities, because we have so much to offer to the community, programs and access to information and careers.
The city of Los Angeles has the largest community of Central Americans in our nation. And so it's very important for LADWP to be a proud sponsor, because we support our Central American communities. We're here to serve, we're here to educate, and we're here to employ.
Somos LADWP!
Buenos días a todos. Happy belated Indigenous Peoples Day. Board President, thank you for your comments and remarks on Hispanic Heritage Month. And good morning to everyone. I'm Wilfredo Paz Bermudez. I'm a civil engineering associate with the water system, and I have the privilege of serving as the president of the LADWP chapter of the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. Presenting with me today are Jocelyn Fonseca Palacios, our Vice President of Chapter Development, and Brianna Plancarte, our Outreach Chair. I want to extend a heartfelt gracias to the Board of Commissioners, to General Manager Marty Adams, our senior leadership team, the Office of DEI, and of course, our Ship Familia for being champions of our chapter. This month, as Board President you mentioned, Hispanic and Latino Heritage Month resonates deeply across this nation and especially across this city. It reminds us of the rich tapestries of cultures and contributions that our Hispanic and Latino communities bring to the table. It's a celebration of our shared history, our present endeavors, and the bright future we're building together.
I am Jocelyn Fonseca Palacios, Architectural Associate in the Power System, and also LADWP SHIP's Vice President of Chapter Development. We are proud to share our chapter's remarkable progress and accomplishments. Today's agenda, a report will consist of chapter president's update, SHIP board introduction, year recap, and future plans.
I'm deeply honored to stand before you as we mark the 3rd anniversary of LADWP SHIP. SHIP's 4 core values not only guide our chapter, but resonate deeply within LADWP's mission. The first, familia, family. Familia is at the heart of SHIP. Our Latino culture is diverse, yet it is the sense of community that unites us. LADWP SHIP welcomes all into our familia. Second, service. Service to each other and to the community is an integral part of paying it forward. Third, education. Our commitment to lifelong learning is unwavering, and we continually seek opportunities for growth, not just for ourselves, but for the entire LADWP. And fourth, resilience. Resilience is a hallmark of SHIP's values. It empowers us to adapt, thrive, and persevere with an enduring sense of optimism, even in the face of challenges. Echoing Gloria Molina's assertion that we have the power to define ourselves, this year's achievements underscore our familia's dedication to forging a legacy marked by excellence, collaboration, and innovation for the entire LADWP. We have strengthened alliances with other resource groups, including NSBE, SWEET, Aspire, Pride, and others, amplifying our collective impact. We are pleased to announce that our chapter has grown to 109 members. We're delighted to emphasize the diversity of representation from across the department. While 59% belong to water, 16% are affiliated with joint, and 25% represent power. It's worth noting that our membership includes individuals from across the department classifications, not exclusively engineers. Please allow us to acknowledge our esteemed leadership team. LADWP SHIP's Executive Board, could you kindly stand? I would like to acknowledge past President Marcelo Di Paolo. I'll reintroduce myself, Wilfredo Paz Bermudez, as the President, our Vice President of Operations, Jesus Gonzalez, Vice President of Chapter Development, Jocelyn Fonseca Palacios, our Treasurer, Jose Mora, Secretary, Alberto Martinez, Communication Chair, Leonora Moroth, Outreach Chair, Brianna Plancarte, Election Chair, Jahaira Gastelum, Membership Chair, Andres Perez, Cultural Chair, Itzel Ortega Almazan, and a special thanks to our executive sponsor, Evelyn Cortez Davis.
So, good morning, Commissioners. I'm Brianna Plancarte. I'm a Civil Engineering Associate in the Water System and this year's Outreach Chair. So this year's events have built upon our core pillars, which Wilfredo highlighted earlier: familia, service, education, and resilience. So our first pillar is familia. We've fostered this spirit through our various events throughout the years. We first organized 4 empowering general body meetings featuring guest speakers discussing topics like LADWP's DEI efforts and leveraging your personal story for career development. We also attended SHIP's Founders Legacy Banquet, where LADWP, in conjunction with LESAN, was awarded the company award for their outstanding commitment to SHIP's mission. Our very own Ofelia Rubio, who is also our first chapter president, accepted the award on our behalf. SHIP also collaborated with the American Society of Civil Engineers Younger Members Forum to host a Dia de los Muertos, or Day of the Dead, ofrenda exhibition. Led by our cultural chair, Itzel Ortega Almazan, with support from DEIO, Power Construction Maintenance, and JFB Facility Services, this exhibition connected us with the broader community while honoring departed members of our familia. During our Dia de las Madres, or Mother's Day celebration, we celebrated the incredible mothers and mother figures who tirelessly support and inspire us every day by gifting 120 handmade bouquets and poems. Our next pillar is service. Our chapter actively participates in SHIP national and regional conferences, which are a hub for connecting with aspiring engineers. This November, 10 members will attend SHIP National Conference for Professional Development and to assist with recruitment. We've also opened our doors to students, offering tours of LADWP facilities to help inspire the next generation of engineers. We've hosted students from 5 universities in the LA area and partnered with the Da Vinci Summer Camp to host K-12 students from across LA. Gabriel Vargas, Lisa Morrison-Castle, Francisco Ojeda, and Justine Takizawa were a great help in organizing the tours, as were many other individuals who participated in panels and helped lead student groups. Our members have also volunteered at various outreach events, such as ASE YMF's Engineers Week, where they held STEM activities for students. Education is another cornerstone of our chapter's mission. Our chapter developed and hosted a review course for the seismic exam required for the California Professional Civil Engineer's License. This course was developed by Nina Espinosa, Mark Zavala, Michael Sai, and Wilfredo Paz Bermudez of Wet Civil Structural Design, and taught over the span of 7 weeks. LADWP SHIP collaborated with LADWP NESB and SWE chapters to encourage employees across the department to join, and in the end, we had 233 employees enroll. We also created cross-training opportunities by organizing tours of projects in both water and power systems. Design manager Jose Rubalcaba led tours of the Tujunga Central Groundwater Remediation Facility and discussed considerations made during design and construction. Jeremy Fabregas and Jose Verduzco provided a tour of the Haskell-Silmar Transmission Line 2 project, demonstrating the ongoing construction that is part of DWP's $4.5 billion power infrastructure plan. Our last pillar is resilience. Events such as our Holiday Fest and Tamaleada highlighted different aspects of our Latin culture and shared it with our broader DWP familia. At the Women's Expo, we shared with community members our journeys towards becoming engineers. And lastly, in our quarterly newsletter Nexo, we highlighted chapter news, events, and member achievements.
Hispanic Heritage Month provides a space to connect to our roots and form a sense of identity as a larger whole. And although we are close to wrapping up the celebration of our own heritage, we really do look forward to continuing to learn and to celebrate other diverse backgrounds and cultures. These are the 5 activities led by social chairs Lluvia Lopez Garces and Brian Orozco. To kick off the celebration, we organized our first ever participation in the COFECA Parade Central American Festival. And we want to express our immense gratitude to DEI, Communications, Fleet Services, Cars, and Customer Service. The 2-day event started with a presence at the festival on September 16th, where LADWP shipped engaged with the community and led STEM activities for families. The following day was parade time, and as you saw from the spectacular video, we had over 40 marchers walk with us, the Pico Union neighborhood, while dancing, cheering, and laughing with the community. DEI Senior AGM Greg Reed accepted an award on our behalf of LADWP, presented by COFECA to honor our participation. Our second activity was a partnership with the JFB cafeteria. Each week this month, we featured a traditional dish from Mexico, Cuba, Argentina, and El Salvador. Join us for our special this Thursday, October 12th. For our third activity, we visited the California Science Center, where we ventured into the ancient Mayan civilization and learned how Mayan inventions and ideas have shaped our present. Our fourth activity, we gathered with family and friends at the LA Galaxy's Hispanic Heritage Night. We gathered with family to enjoy live music, food, and soccer. We will wrap up Hispanic Heritage Month by hosting a very special screening of A Million Miles Away. The film is based on a true story of Dr. Jose Hernandez, a Mexican-American astronaut, Journeys to the Star. Friends and family are invited to join this Thursday, October 12th at 5 for light refreshments in the A level, and the screening will begin at 5:30 in the JFB auditorium. Moving forward, as we set sight on the future, we are strategically guided by our 4 pillars. Familia. We will encourage each of our members to become role models by creating a supportive and inclusive environment. Service. We will continue to develop partnerships with local K-12 schools and community organizations, such as a place called Home, which serves at-risk youth and families in South Central LA. We're also open to exploring additional partnership opportunities. Education. We will continue our professional development series by focusing on technical and leadership training. Additionally, we will continue to organize site visits to provide insights beyond our daily roles. Engineers employed by the City of LA establish SHIP. LADWP's involvement at the SHIP National Convention in Anaheim in 2024 marks its 50th anniversary, and it would hold a great significance. We look forward to strong support and participation from the department. Lastly, resilience. We will continue to collaborate closely with other resource groups. Additionally, we will work in tandem with the Board of Commissioners and Executive Management to foster unity and inclusivity. Together, we will build a familia that inspires, empowers, and leads the way in service, education, and resilience.
We are deeply grateful for the support from Executive Management, the Office of DEI, the Board of Commissioners, and our LADWP SHIP Familia. We invite all LADWP employees to join our chapter. Feel free to reach out to us at ship@ladwp.com, and thank you, everybody.
Questions or comments?
Yes, I'd like to make a comment. No sé si ustedes saben que yo soy salvadoreña y que emigré en el 80 por razones obvias, que era una pequeña guerra civil. Y me encantó mucho la presentación, una presentación muy profesional. Los felicito y estaría interesada en un momento de participar de una forma más formal, porque recibir muchas invitaciones que a veces se van en los emails, se van confundiendo con responsabilidades fuertes con el departamento, entonces lo pudiéramos platicar un poco más, el tipo de comunicación, pero los felicito.
Claro.
Gracias por
Muchas
todo.
gracias.
Y hago las mejores pupusas de Los Ángeles.
Esperemos contar con su presencia el jueves.
Gracias.
Anything else?
No, that was excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thank you very much. It's so exciting. I've been here since all of the employee resource organizations have formed, and it has been just really delightful to watch groups grow and develop and strengthen, and the impact that you have on this department is significant, not just on the department, in the community. As you were providing your presentation, I was reminded of an event that we sponsored and that I attended very recently with a group of girls out in the valley. It's DYI girls. And I will be reaching out to you to determine your interest in partnering with them. They are girls in middle school and high school looking for careers in STEM. And I think that they would be super excited to see and to meet and to know that you are here. So that would be terrific. And then finally, I do want to publicly credit SHIP for its collaboration with the board office in coming up with the theme, De Colores Presente, for the exhibit that will be open tomorrow. You are an inspiration, and we hope the DEI and Commission Office that we have reflected your vision and do you proud. The exhibit will be open for through the end of the year, and represents and presents works from artists, local artists from all over Central America. And also, I would be remiss if I did not point out, represents the enormous skill of many of the craftspeople who work here at LADWP, for whose efforts made the transformation of our lobby into a gallery possible. So I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And while we're bringing up the next presentation, I do want to just go back to an announcement that was made during the GM's report regarding the grant that we received in order to pay the full price for transforming lawns down in Southville, in underserved communities. I want to point out that as we are looking, or as we were about to receive the LA 100 Equity Strategies update, that this department's commitment to equity is present and ongoing and active. And in the context of that particular grant, I just want to acknowledge Terrence O'Shea McCarthy from the Water Group. He's an employee who saw that these funds could be available and took the initiative to reach for them, knowing that they would provide specific benefit for our community. And that's really what it looks like if we're going to be successful, individuals understanding what we seek to achieve and taking the initiative to act $1 at a time, one program at a time. So it's not always the big grand gesture or the, magnificent, large initiatives. It's sometimes the simple and small act of securing $14 million to help residents participate in turf removal and to become part of creating more climate resilience in Los Angeles. So I just wanted to point that out as well and to say thank you to Mr. McCarthy. And with that, we will move to our next presentation. This is a presentation regarding LA 100 Equity Strategies. It is an update. And without anything further, I will turn it over to, I guess, Jason.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jason Rondu. I'm Director of Engineering in the Power System, and I will be joined soon by Greg Reed as well, and I'm joined by Kate Anderson and Greg Pierce. We are very, very excited to share this presentation with you. It is representative of 2 years of groundbreaking work that no other utility in the country has invested this level of time and energy and staff time into doing. We'll share with you why it's important that we're looking at this and going into depth as to what are the consequences of inaction on equity with respect to our decarbonization efforts. We'll share with you the study findings from the National Renewable Energy Lab as well as UCLA, and then we'll talk about the next steps that the power system needs to take immediately to put this into action to make sure that we're planning an equitable future. So I'm going to jump right into the next slide, which shares with you the last several years of investment that we have made in our power planning area with respect to 100% decarbonization. Many of you know that we invested several years with the National Renewable Energy Lab in charting out different pathways to achieve 100% carbon-free energy. We found a number of things from this effort. This was done in collaboration with a 50-member advisory group, and we found that we can achieve 100% carbon-free through many different pathways with respect to different strategies to achieve this. But on the next slide, you'll also see that this will require a significant amount of funding. The study found that we would have to spend between $57 and $87 billion of additional investment on top of all of the existing obligations that we have, on top of all of the existing planned programs and initiatives. Now, what this means for us is going forward over the next 20 to 30 years, the study found that we can also do this equitably if we have intentionally designed programs and policies. And that sounds very straightforward, but what you'll find very soon is that that is far more complicated and far more involved than meets the eye. Another way to look at this is unless we do this intentionally, unless we do this in partnership with our most vulnerable communities, this will not only maintain existing inequities, but it will build upon and make worse existing inequities. And we want to share with you why. On the next slide, in Los Angeles and actually throughout the country, there's a history of discrimination with respect to housing and many other areas that are relevant to our power system future. We have heard many times the history of redlining, where communities were subjected to higher interest rates. We also know that there were discriminatory housing covenants. We know that there were limitations on new housing throughout the city of Los Angeles and other cities, but especially in the city of Los Angeles, where we are subject to significant sprawl. We know that there was restrictive zoning, and through all of that historical discrimination, and marginalized communities were not able to access housing. We know that Proposition 13 further solidified that discrimination and actually solidified the ability to pass generational wealth onto communities that actually could afford housing, and those who could not afford housing now had a higher barrier to entry into the housing market. Now, why does that matter for us? Why does that matter for our power system future? Our power system future is significantly reliant on our customers, from rooftop solar to demand response to energy efficiency and electric vehicles. And those who stood to gain from that historical discrimination now stand to gain the most from our power system future, unless we have intentionally designed programs and policies. On the next slide, you'll see a map that may look familiar to many of you. This is a map of redlining in the city of Los Angeles. And what you'll see is in areas that are green, that were the highest, the lowest interest rate areas for redlining, you'll see that that has the lowest penetration of disadvantaged communities. And those communities that were redlined have the highest level of disadvantaged communities today. And you'll see in a couple future slides that the investments that we have made to date with respect to our decarbonized future have largely mirrored this historical discrimination. On the next slide, we also have the reality that in disadvantaged communities, we have higher density, which means higher vulnerability to high heats and underinvestment in our distribution grid as well. On the next slide, you'll see the historical investment of our net metering incentives. Now, this is just part of the equation with respect to what we've invested financially in achieving higher levels of solar energy. We're very proud of the fact that we are one of the top cities in the country with respect to renewable energy, but we have to recognize we've got there in a way that is extraordinarily inequitable. We've spent $340 million in incentives and upwards of $1 billion in total investment over the last 30 years, and the majority of that has gone to non-disadvantaged communities. In addition to the 38% that has been spent in underserved communities, only 4% of participants in our net metering program are on the low-income rate. On the electric vehicle front on the next slide, we also see similar underinvestment in underserved communities, although over the last couple of years, and you'll see this later in the presentation, we have made some significant strides in this area, but the reality exists that underinvestment has been made in this area as well. On the next slide, you'll see a summary of the rate design structure, and I think this is something that flies under the radar, and with the help of NREL and UCLA, you'll be able to see very clearly the regressive nature of our rate design. And this is not exclusive to LADWP, but we do have some exclusive challenges with respect to our ability to solve this. Now, why does regressive rate design matter? If we're spending $57 to $87 billion of new investment, that will be done through regressive rate design, which means those that are the most vulnerable will be asked to share a disproportionate burden of that transformation. And you'll see later in the slides that LADWP cannot alone solve this rate design structure, that we may have to seek city charter change to be able to do that. We also know that 250,000 homes in the city of Los Angeles lack sufficient cooling and will be exposed to additional challenges in the years ahead as we see increased warming due to climate change. On the next slide, you'll see an additional summary of some of these inequities, but one area that I want to highlight is federal funding. Now, what our approach has been with respect to the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the Inflation Reduction Act is we've tried to go after every single dollar that we are eligible for. We may not get all of that, but we're trying to go after all of those dollars to make sure that we are keeping rates as low as possible. But you'll see, even though we have nearly $1 billion of applications in with the federal government, that still moves the needle a little bit, not substantially enough, which means we cannot rely on that alone for an equitable future. On the next slide, we talk about our commitment to doing this equitably. We are in a position where we stand to lead the country with respect to our decarbonization efforts. We're the largest municipal utility in the country, but we're 10% of the state and we're about 1% of the country. So our ability to lead relies on us doing it successfully. If we lead in a position where we sacrifice equity on our path to decarbonization, we will not be in a leadership position and we will not have moved that effort forward. So on the next slide, we kicked off our equity strategies effort in 2021 following the realization from the LA 100 study that we had to do something, that status quo would be inequitable and would deepen inequities. We did that on the next slide over a 2-year period that was deeply engaged by our steering committee. Next slide, please. 14 community-based organizations. We had a number of meetings over the last several years, listening sessions with 150 community members, and we also had an advisory committee of organizations that deeply care about equity and stand to provide valuable input, but were not community-based organizations, so we were able to engage them as well. And you'll see on the next slide, which I'll just touch on very briefly because this is a little bit detailed. We kicked this off in August of 2021, and there were 3 key phases. There was identifying and understanding those past inequities, and then understanding the strategies that need to be developed to address them, and then sharing the analysis and modeling with the community. And so we did that again over the course of the last 3 years, and you can see that there has been consistent engagement throughout the entire process at all levels of engagement from the advisory committee, steering committee, and the community itself. And so I've got one more slide before I hand it off to Kate Anderson. And these are the areas that the community has identified as being critical for planning our equitable future. Affordability and energy burdens, and we talked about that a moment ago. Access to those customer programs and the technologies. Understanding the impacts of health, safety, and community resilience with respect to the way that we plan our power system future. Access to jobs and workforce development. Doing this transition in a way that's consistent with our values as a city. And then inclusive community involvement across the board. So now I'll hand it off to Kate Anderson to walk through NREL's findings.
Thank you, Jason. Hi, everyone. My name is Kate Anderson. I'm from the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. It's great to be here with you today. At NREL, our vision is a clean energy future for the world, and we really see LA and DWP in particular as leading in turning that vision into reality. A few years ago, when we had the LA 100 study with you, after that launched, we saw many cities and communities around the country start to launch their own 100% studies. And so I just want to emphasize that you really are a leader in this space, and your work to enable an equitable energy transformation is not just about Los Angeles, it is also inspiring communities around the country to follow you. So I'd like to take a minute to introduce the NREL team. There were over 60 NREL staff that worked on this project. Up here, we just show the team leads. I want to especially acknowledge Megan Day, who led our modeling and analysis teams, and Patty Romero-Lancao, who led our community engagement and social science team. And they were really the thought leaders at NREL that developed a framework and methodology for turning what is sometimes a conceptual idea of equity into real community-led and data-driven strategies for implementation. Here we show the study overview. This is a complex and thorough study. We don't have time to go into everything today, but I want to encourage you to take a look at it when it comes out in a few weeks. Today we will just be focusing on a few of these areas and a few of the top equity strategies that came out of it. Before I dive into the results, I wanted to give a little bit of background on how we developed the strategies. We had an extensive community engagement process that Jason described. It included input from over 100 community members, as well as 14 community-based organizations and 32 city and nonprofit agencies. And that was done through the steering committee, the advisory committee, and community listening sessions. Based on that input, we developed business as usual and equity scenarios in a range of different topics to test how different strategies could impact equity outcomes. So just as an example, in the buildings area, we modeled hourly electricity and gas usage for 50,000 representative buildings across 100 different household characteristics. We looked at the differences between things like homeowner and renter status at different incomes, different neighborhoods, to understand how these strategies impacted different populations. So all this to say, these strategies are based on a lot of community input as well as very in-depth modeling and analysis. All right, so I'm going to present results in 6 areas today. The first is energy bill affordability and equity, which was led by Thomas Bowen and Christina Simeone. For each of these 6 areas, I'll show you a brief snapshot of where we are today, and then a summary of some of the strategies that can get us towards a more equitable energy future. All right, so starting with affordability, you heard about this from Jason already. 13% of Los Angeles households are energy burdened and extremely low income. But despite that, LADWP has relatively low enrollment in their bill assistance programs. So only 7% of residential customers are currently enrolled as of 2019. And the bill discounts are relatively low as well, about $8 a month, compared to the California investor-owned utilities, which have higher enrollment and higher discounts in their low-income assistance programs. When we look at the current rate structure and continuing that out to 2035, the existing rate structure will result in more inequity in the future. So we see that electricity bills increase more for the lowest income customers than they do for all customers on average. And as Jason mentioned, current laws really restrict LADWP's ability to reform rates and to increase that low income assistance. So when you start to look at strategies to address these issues, you'll see on the right that most of these strategies have a check mark in the policy column. And what that means is that in order to implement these strategies, this will require voter support. It will require policy and legal changes in order to be able to tackle these issues. In most of the other areas that we'll look at today, you'll see a lot of program strategies. Program strategies are things that LADWP can implement without policy changes. But here in this affordability realm, policy changes are really key to making any headway here. I'll just highlight 2 of these strategies. So the first is implementing a simplified time of use or tiered rate structure, and then also replacing solar net metering with net billing. When we do that, we see that low-income monthly bills decrease by $14 to $15 per month, and we also decrease the disparity between solar adopters and non-adopters. The second strategy up here is implementing robust low-income assistance programs, again, more in line with the IOU's programs like CARE and FARA. When we do that, we see a 22% decrease in low-income bills, and then also an increase in the number of households receiving assistance by about 250,000. In the area of housing, this team was led by Caitlin Stenger. When we look at where we are today in housing, fewer than 50% of low and moderate income households use cooling because it is just too expensive to run. This results in 230,000 low-income households that will experience more than 2 months of exposure to dangerous indoor air temperatures, which is over 86 degrees Fahrenheit by 2035. And so this is really a life or death situation when you're talking about that much exposure to heat. So when we think about the strategies that we can take to alleviate this, one of the first things we look at is expanding access to cooling. So in the first strategy here, we look at expanding direct installation of cooling, particularly in extremely low-income households without cooling, and especially in multifamily buildings because they are at the highest risk of this extreme heat. We also look at strategies for providing heat pump rebates through Cool LA because heat pumps are more efficient and have lower operating costs, and then also looking at ways that we can mitigate any potential rent increases or displacement that might result from LADWP-supported upgrades. All right, our third topic is local solar. This was led by Ashrita Prasanna. When we look at solar, and Jason already highlighted this, we see that historically many of the solar net metering incentives, about 62%, went to non-disadvantaged communities. And so when we think about how to more equitably increase access to solar benefits and to the bill savings that solar can provide, we really focus on shared solar or community solar because rooftop solar is not always accessible to renters or to multifamily building residents. So these three strategies here first focus on establishing a low and moderate income shared solar subscription rate. Currently, the shared solar rate is higher than the average price of it for a utility customer in LADWP's territory. And so by reducing that rate for low and moderate income customers, that makes shared solar more accessible to them. We also identified a significant number of potential shared solar sites. So these are sites that could hold more than 30 kilowatts of solar. There's over 1,800 sites around the city here. 600 of those qualify for the 50% tax credit that's available through the Inflation Reduction Act. So typically the federal tax credit is 30%, but for sites that qualify as low income or multifamily, they receive an additional percentage of the tax credit. So there's a huge opportunity there for LADWP to develop sites and to receive that IRA tax credit. All right, the next topic we'll look at is household transportation electrification. This team was led by Elena Wilson. Here again, Jason highlighted this earlier. We see that right now, the distribution of incentives, EV and EV charging incentives, is inequitable, with 77% of those incentives going to non-disadvantaged communities. We also see that there's a higher percentage of households in disadvantaged communities that do not own vehicles. So it's important in this area not to just look at electric vehicles, but also to look at other programs like micromobility that can provide people access to transportation when they don't own their own personal vehicle. So here, just to highlight a couple of these strategies, the top one suggests increasing the LADWP low-income used EV incentive from $2,500 to $4,000, and this would match the federal incentive available. Doing that would result in an additional 50,000 vehicles adopted in low-income communities by 2035. Going along with that will require charging infrastructure. So many of these new used electric vehicle adopters will be multifamily households and renters that do not have the ability to install their own charging station in their house. And so public charging access near their homes will be really critical. And finally, the last strategy here looks at establishing EV car share, e-bike, and e-scooter programs in 19 disadvantaged communities that were identified as transportation disadvantaged, meaning they had lower availability of personal vehicles and also lower access to transit. So there are opportunities for cost savings of 7%, for time savings of about 30%, and then also emission savings that would be equivalent to taking 62,000 cars off the road. All right, truck electrification is our 5th out of 6 areas. This team was led by Garvin Heath. Here we see that disadvantaged communities disproportionately experience the impacts of pollution from trucks because they are more likely to live near the freeways where those pollution concentrations are the highest. We also see that not all trucks are created equal. So within trucks, heavy-duty trucks create 50% of the pollution, even though they represent only 5% of the vehicles. And then further within that heavy-duty truck category, the heavy-duty trucks, so these are things like semi-tractor trailers, dump trucks, fire trucks, they are particularly big emitters. So when we think about where we really need to focus, it is on those heavy-duty trucks, where we get the biggest bang for our buck in some ways in terms of reducing emissions. So when we look at the strategies here, these strategies focus on establishing targets and incentives and a budget, first to convert LEDWP's own heavy-duty truck fleet, since that is what you have most control over, and then extending those targets out to the broader city. And along with that, establishing heavy-duty truck charging infrastructure to ensure those trucks have a place to charge. All right, and the sixth and final of NREL's portion of this focuses on distribution grid upgrades and resilience. This team was led by Brian Palmentier. Here, when we look at the discrepancies between disadvantaged and non-disadvantaged communities, we see that disadvantaged communities do have a slightly higher frequency of power interruptions. They also have higher grid stress, so 14% higher in regions of the city with significant disadvantaged communities, and that's projected to worsen to 25% by 2035. So when we look at some of the strategies to address that, I wanted to highlight the second one here, which is upsizing transformer capacity. So currently, LEDWP already has plans in place to upsize transformer capacity, but it's typically more around 1.6, a factor of 1.6. Here we're suggesting that you increase that to a factor of 2 to 3 times when replacing service transformers, and this is to accommodate the future expected electrification and distributed energy resources, and make sure that this is not a barrier to customers adopting clean energy. And this should be done in coordination with all of these other programs we've been talking about with, access to cooling, with electric vehicle upgrades, with home electrification, again, to make sure that these are done together and that the transformer capacity does not present a barrier. All right, I'm gonna pass it over to Greg Pierce from UCLA now.
All right, thanks, Kate, and thanks to the board for having us. I'm going to give you a brief overview of UCLA's approach and contributions to LA 100 equity strategies. We were invited into this work a little bit later and started our work in early 2022, working closely with LADWP, with NREL, and with the advisory and steering committees. I want to emphasize that in some places our work we did hand in hand with NREL, in other places it was complementary, in other places we did distinct contributions. We have a unique sort of positionality in that I believe we're the largest customer of LADWP, so we're a stakeholder in this work. And I really want to emphasize, although the current study is over and will be published in a few weeks, we're committed to this work in the long term, not because of our vested interests as a customer, but because we want to see the region make this transition equitably. Again, this work has been done by a broad range of experts at UCLA, and I'll just show you them on the next slide. We all have our fancy titles here. But I'm representing the work of several of my colleagues. I'll talk about our work at the Luskin Center on affordability in just a second. But then the work on buildings and on the Energy Atlas by Stephanie Pinsetto and Eric Fournier at the Center for Sustainable Communities. The work by Paul Ong and team on ethnic-owned small businesses from the Center for Neighborhood Knowledge. The work by Yifeng Zhu and team on air quality and transportation's contribution to air quality. And then the work by Raul Hinojosa and Abel Valenzuela on workforce and jobs development. All coordinated, the whole UCLA effort was coordinated by the Sustainable LA Grand Challenge, and we have several members of the team in the room here today. And I also want to say, I think we have 25 other folks who contributed to this work. These are just the team leads shown here. On affordability, we just have the one slide. We have a 230-page chapter you can see in a few weeks with the 15-page executive summary. I don't actually want to say much because I think Kate said a lot on affordability. And our work really complemented NREL's work on rate structure and on bill financing. We did quite a bit to highlight the legal challenges and potential means to overcome them presented by Proposition 26 and 218. But then our work on specific metrics and policies and recommendations really focuses in on discount programs and scaling up existing discount programs that you already have, the Lifeline and Easy Save, to be more robust in several dimensions. Our work helped inform and then can help evaluate and hopefully expand the existing shut-off moratorium that is a landmark policy instituted by LADWP. which no other utility in the country has yet to replicate. And then we also provide recommendations around scaling both sort of supply side and demand side means to support affordability through energy efficiency programs like HAMMER, as well as on the supply side through distributed energy programs like virtual net energy metering and shared solar, as Kate mentioned. Moving on, the focus by Paul Ong's team on ethnic-owned small businesses is really novel and hasn't been done by other utilities that I've seen in studies like this. Most of their work was carried out through a survey of ethnic-owned small businesses. They found, among many findings, that almost 1 in 3 are energy burdened, and that awareness even about LADWP's energy transition was quite low. Only 10% of ethnic-owned small businesses were aware. Of course, a lot of the recommendations of their work are around funding for new energy efficiency equipment and payment and educational programs in multiple languages, as well as through trusted intermediaries like business serving CBOs and community-based organizations and other trusted agencies. But I also want to emphasize that there's additional work to be done in terms of determining where small businesses fit in DWP's existing construction of its customer classes. There's actually quite a few small businesses that are running through residential accounts is what I'm trying to get at. And so there's more sorting out to be done on the data front to truly address and support ethnic-owned small businesses. Next, we come to air quality and public health. This work was done hand in hand with NREL's work. And just want to emphasize here that there are fairly sizable expected gains in avoided deaths through the electrification of transportation, particularly around the electrification of medium and heavy duty trucks, with the largest gains or avoided deaths being seen among Hispanic residents. There's also additional work to be done, though, beyond just pure electrification to reduce ozone. There has to be effectively direct nitrous oxide or NOx controls to complement the work and the reductions in particulate matter that we'll see through transportation electrification. Next, we come to the Center for Sustainable Communities' work on buildings and really sort of connection to the grid resilience. There's a lot of complexity to this work, but this is essentially highlighting a missing piece, an essential piece in allowing folks to electrify, particularly their buildings, but also have electrical capacity to charge their vehicles, around the need for electrical panel upgrades in buildings. Of course, unsurprisingly, we find, or our colleagues find, that multifamily properties are less likely to have existing electrical panels that could support full electrification of the building and support transportation electrification, and that disadvantaged communities, and particularly multifamily properties in disadvantaged communities, are least well equipped. So there's recommendations here about leveraging both Inflation Reduction Act funding for panel upgrades, as well as pairing this with adoption and programs to adopt efficient, easily installed appliances. And then looking forward, really being progressive to think about implementing smart panel hardware to anticipate greater capacity of the utility to perform demand response and time of use pricing down the line. Last but not least, in terms of report chapters, is the chapter on green jobs and workforce development led by Abel Valenzuela and Raul Enosa. The primary work of this research was to create a green jobs data calculator, which shows that there will be continued growth in green jobs in both the city and the county through 2035, jobs associated with the energy transition. And those will only be accelerated, of course, by programs like the Inflation Reduction Act. That being said, there needs to be concerted effort around workforce training to close race, gender, and disadvantaged community gaps. And there's particular call out for the further development of high roads jobs training, and particularly around in-basin construction, installation, and maintenance. Another important part of this work was a case study that was done with community-based organizations in Wilmington to essentially let people know about the jobs opportunities that showed increasing awareness and interest following a two-way conversation. And that work is continuing in Wilmington through an additional grant that the UCLA partners have received. Last but not least, I want to emphasize the Energy Atlas, which has actually been a platform developed by the Center for Sustainable Communities at UCLA and developed since or in partnership with LADWP for over 10 years that has data, customer level data, dating back to 2005 that is already publicly available and is a really useful tool to show patterns of energy use, in some cases water use, but to not only show that in an unadjusted way, but also by different types of buildings, by demographic variables, by communities. This energy atlas has been updated, and billing and shutoff information has been added, and there's a new interactive tool, and essentially there's a lot of flexibility to orient this further and develop this further and make public further as a tracking tool for LA 100 equity strategies implementation, and the team stands ready to do that and make adjustments, both an internal facing tool as well as public facing tool that could serve as a monitoring and metrics platform. That brings me to my last point and UCLA's perspective on a path forward, which is that this work has been, great, but there's more work to do. And there's, despite the, increase in community engagement, there needs to be broadened and deepened two-way community engagement and advisory process in this work going forward. I know you'll hear a little bit about that in just a second. There absolutely needs to be a metrics and monitoring platform to incorporate all these great recommendations that come out of the work and see how they've been implemented and how much progress is made over time. And the Energy Atlas is a potential platform for that work. There needs to be, and I know you'll hear in just a second, about specific near-term policy commitments that are staring the utility in the face based on this work around particular programs and, well, programs, not all policies that can be implemented immediately. But I do want to emphasize again that this work is not done and that there needs to be further and really flexible study and engagement and implementation over time, because no one knows exactly how the energy transition is going to go. We're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. We need to adjust, and we need to be honest about that. And again, UCLA is standing by to support in that work. But in the meantime, the report will be released in a few weeks, and I'll turn it back over to Jason.
All right, thanks, Greg. So the findings that were just shared with you all were presented to the steering committee and the advisory committee on September 21st. And that was actually the first meeting that was held in person, so it was a very special moment, and it was a conclusion of the formal engagement through the study process. But what we wanted to do is understand what the feedback was with respect to next steps. What do we need to do immediately? And as Greg said, there are a lot of things that are right in front of us that we need to take action on, and we'll talk about some of those in a moment. But some of the highlights of the feedback that we got revolve around strong commitments with respect to partnerships, so continuing deep dialogue with labor unions, community-based organizations, and the business community as well. Also, the recognition that the choices that we make in our power system not only impact other sectors within the city, but also in many cases depend on those sectors as well. So recognizing the ability for us to deploy infrastructure quickly means that more housing gets built more rapidly and more people get housed more rapidly. The faster that we get electric vehicles interconnected, the faster that we improve local air quality emissions as well. And there's a deep interdependency between us and other city departments to make sure that that happens. On the next slide, ensuring that we are doing outreach to communities that are impacted. So many stakeholders within the city have the ability to show up to board meetings like this, to council meetings, to show up to advocate on their behalf, but many within the city do not have that ability. So it is important for LADWP to be able to reach people where they are. That means going door to door, canvassing, making sure that staff has the ability to effectively communicate with those communities as well. On the next slide, we wanted to take a moment to thank the steering committee. So over the last 2 years, it has required deep engagement from these organizations to show up to these meetings, to provide substantial feedback, to advocate on the behalf of their members, and to actually shape this study. So many within the department have known that there's been an equity issue for several years, dating back to probably beyond the last 10 years. What's different today is we have the top study, the top research in the world that's been conducted that that shows the data, that shows the path forward to chart an equitable future. And as Greg said, there will be challenges along the way. We'll course correct, but we have that research, we have that study, and it's been done in collaboration with these community-based organizations. We have alignment at the board level, at the executive management level, and at the staff level. So we have alignment, and I just really want to take a moment to thank the community-based organizations. Some I know are here today, and some are on the call. So if we could just take a quick moment and give them a round of applause and thank them for their significant contributions to date, and also their commitment to helping us chart the future as well. So on the next slide, and we'll actually skip 2 slides about our immediate next steps. So over the last 2 years, we haven't just studied. We have continued to make progress in areas where we know progress has to be made and where we have the ability to do that. That includes expanding our Easy Save program, our Level Pay program. That includes ensuring that our most vulnerable customers do not have power shutoffs, particularly at the most vulnerable moments. Project Powerhouse, which has already been talked about at length today, is incredibly important to make sure that we recognize underinvestment in areas that need to have continued build out of housing to get more people housed rapidly. On the next slide, we have the Cool LA program, as well as our comprehensive affordable multifamily program as well, which reaches customers that historically have not been reached. We have low-income EV rebates, and we've expanded that dramatically, and many of the teams that have actually stood up these programs are actually here in attendance today and are very, very eager to really build on some of these investments as well. And of course, we have the Home Energy Improvement Program. But there is quite a bit more to do. So the immediate next steps include engagement. On the next slide, you'll be able to see a number of different, and this is not exhaustive, this is a representation that we have education to do. We need to take these findings and what we know and what our action plan is on the road to be able to form those partnerships with other organizations within the city and the county that have interdependencies with respect to our ability to achieving these equity goals. On the next slide, you'll see how we intend to change the way that we organize, that we engage the community. So you saw on an earlier slide where we had consistent engagement through all areas of our customer base over the course of the entire structure. And I think that was an incredible lesson learned for us as we have our strategic long-term resource plan kicking off early next year. We want to make sure that equity strategies, that advisory committee is engaged from day one in that process, and that there's iterative feedback across that entire planning process, so that as we make choices on when to achieve certain targets by when, the ways, the strategies on which to achieve them, and what that means for rates, that there's an equity component and active equity engagement through that entire process. On the next slide, I won't go line by line through this, but this details conceptually what the different roles for our Strategic Long-Term Resource Plan Advisory Committee would be. That's the committee that over the last several years has been deeply engaged in that, but as well as an overlay of equity strategies advisory committee as well through that entire process. So on the next slide, you'll see, if you take a moment and recall those 5 areas that we talked about that are important to the steering committee and the advisory committee and the communities that we reached out to, we wanted to identify some of the immediate next steps that we know that we have the power to actually expand or improve in the very near term. And of course, we will engage with the steering committee to be able to refine this and build this out in a lot more detail. But I wanted to touch on some of these really quickly. With respect to affordability and energy burden, we know that we have the infrastructure in place with existing programs to expand heat pump rebates. We know that we have the ability to explore expanding point of sale rebates. And why that's important is, and I'll give you an example on electric vehicle rebates. For used EV rebates, if you can get a point of sale rebate up front, you might be able to get financing for a car that you otherwise would not have been able to get financing for. So if we can expand the point of sale rebates, we can reach more customers. And we also know that with our power planning efforts, we have to understand what the implications to energy burden are. When we report to the board and to the council and to the public what our power plans means with respect to cents per kilowatt hour, that used to work. but we need to understand what that means for different customer types, and we need to be able to show that to you all and to show that to the customers and to show that to council so that we can all make informed decisions about what our power plan means for different customer types. We also know that we need to expand our customer programs, and one of the areas that we need to be able to do that is public charging in underserved communities. We can't expect the free market to address that gap. We need to be intentional in that area, and we need to make sure that we are expanding charging in all communities. We know that we need to expand community solar, and the team that has overseen that program has spent several years identifying, and they've secured funding sources to be able to expand that to reach low-income customers. On the next slide, we know that we need to expand our reach to customers. We have a pilot resiliency hub at the Green Meadows Recreation Center. We want to explore expanding that and reaching other vulnerable parts of the community and creating value in those communities. We know that we need to expand the way that we look at our power planning to understand air quality impacts as well. What are the choices that we make to be able to increase the air quality locally, and particularly with respect to electric vehicles, which is the key way that we can improve local air quality in the near term. And we know that we need to really enhance the way that we engage the community with respect to the strategic long-term resource plan. And so there's a few more slides, and I'm going to hand it off to Greg Reed to close us out.
Thank you, Jason. And thank you, commissioners, for having this important conversation about our equity strategies. So of the 5 priorities that were identified by our communities in our steering committee, jobs and workforce development was among the top. And with that, our immediate next steps are to partner with our local IBW Local 18 to expand on developing pre-apprenticeship training programs. We recognize with all of the expansion, all the various facets of moving our equity strategies forward, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And we need the workforce that's prepared, trained, and ready to do that. Some of that will translate into direct jobs with LADWP. But we learned from the equity strategy study that there will be also indirect jobs created as a result of our efforts. There will be induced jobs that will be created as a result of our efforts. We also learned that as the city and the county prioritizes this work, green jobs grows the fastest. It grew by 24% over the 2011 through 2019 period. And we expect that to continue to grow as we focus on this program and many others across our region. So developing very targeted recruitment in underserved communities to bring them into the workforce pipeline is critical for us. In addition to that, as we learned about our small and ethnic owned businesses, we recognize that small business employees comprises 90+% of the businesses in the city. So they're a huge employment base for us. And we learned from this study that many of our businesses are struggling in terms of affordability. They also are uninformed about the transition that is about to come, and they need help and resources in order to transition their equipment to be ready to participate in a decarbonized future. So our immediate next steps must increase and build upon the engagement with our small and ethnic-owned businesses. In addition to that, our path forward will be to convene the Equity Strategies Advisory Committee. This is to build upon the procedural justice tenet that was really remarkable for the equity strategies. So working closely with our Equity Strategies Advisory Committee to maintain the continuity of that work with our frontline communities to make sure that the work we do is community informed and data driven. In addition to that, we also are looking at establishing a funding mechanism through a community involvement grant program so that we can work with community-based organizations to be an extension of the work that we are doing to reach frontline communities, to bring them into the various facets of the clean energy transformation. So the next slide basically provides a bit of a timetable in terms of the first quarter reactivation of the equity strategies approach. Looking at the various strategies, prioritizing them, and coming up with a work plan so that we can focus our energy over the next several months and years on the work that needs to be done in terms of decarbonization, shared solar development, equitable infrastructure planning, and metrics development, as well as our green job workforce creation. So with that, I'm going to end my remarks there, and we are going to open up for questions now. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I will first defer to the board members. Are there any questions or comments regarding this presentation?
I have comments, but I want to see if folks have questions first.
I have a couple questions.
McCraw.
Let's see. Thank you, Mr. Reed, for that understanding of the next step being to see a work plan. I think I was anxious to get to this end of the presentation and know, like, okay, well, what is our next step other than report release? When you're thinking about putting together that work plan, do you have a specific day you'll be bringing that to the board? When will we know that specific day if we don't already? And also, could you take me through your thinking on how we're going to wrap some of these policy considerations into work planning? I mean, some of them, as you know, many smart people have pointed out, involve other city or county departments, legal changes that are sort of beyond our ambit here on this board, things like, you know, city charter changes. How are we thinking about those things in terms of work planning? I mean, there's going to be an effort made by the department to push forward some of our initiatives and desires there, but it's not something we have full control over. So how are we thinking about monitoring that?
Let me jump in on that.
Please.
So first, with respect to when we might see something back at the board, I would expect to see something before the end of the year. So that's one. Two, in terms of the range of things that this board can do, a lot of those things are currently being evaluated by Power Systems, and any number of them, you know, and they will come as they are ready in the context of program modifications or efforts that we can move forward. In terms of the other engagement with third-party agencies and the rest of the city, county, and the world. It begins with release of the report, which will happen later this month, and very much like the release of LA 100, there will be a concerted effort to provide briefings and presentations to parties that would be interested in this work, and that would be collaborators or partners in moving certain aspects of it forward. We've already done some limited briefing of folks within the city and within the mayor's office in particular, and they immediately began to see, you know, connections with, say, housing or transportation, et cetera, and are anxious for the release of the report and then for additional, you know, conversation around how we can work in those spaces. So I jumped in because there is so much underway, and so much of it will begin in very intensive ways as we have the actual report and data and information to share in a comprehensive way. I think the report is about 900 pages. I have to confess I have not read them all just yet, but as it becomes available, then that piece of collaboration becomes empowered. Jason, Greg, anything to offer?
I think you covered it pretty nicely, Board President.
All right.
Can I, it's sort of a question, but to your point, 900 pages and a lot to digest, and it would be.
There are executive summaries, so
okay.
You won't have to
I'm
read
just
them all.
talking more like it would be nice as a commission to get a working session, you know, some kind of a working session just to be able to dialogue what you're thinking, what they're thinking. And it's just a suggestion. I don't know if it's viable. But on another note, I'm involved in a lot of community organizations and nonprofits, and I'm really surprised that I didn't see. So I'd like to know who, besides the ones you featured in your slide, have been involved, just in general, just to get a sense, so you could send us the information. The other is, well, that would be one of the main things I would like to know is who else has been involved, because I'm located in the heart of Boyle Heights, and there's tons of organizations there, and so I just want to make sure, and I'm not hearing anything. I'm on the boards, so I would have heard about it, so I'm just, kind of more curious than anything and be able to disseminate things.
I was going to say, one of the things that would be really helpful would be for you to let our staff know which organizations you're involved in. The Equity Strategies Steering Committee was comprised largely of entities that are focused on various aspects of climate justice.
Yes.
And it's only now that the report is being released, and as we begin to brief broader sectors, that we'll start to engage in a much more intensive way with CBOs just in general.
Yes.
So it would be really helpful as we build out our engagement list to know who they are, to make sure that they're on it.
Yeah, but like in the sense that I'm involved with Lacey as of the last 6 months.
Lacey was on the advisory committee.
I know, what I'm trying to say is you're involved, but you don't get information. They didn't give me information, not yours, but how they communicate to the rest of us on their boards if there isn't a specific, it happens not to come up for a long period of time. It's just on them to share more broadly.
Well, one of the things that we'll also have our communications team working with NREL is putting together, and I suspect UCLA is putting together tools and other things that can be used in order to facilitate communication. So literally the last couple of years has been about the work and not about sharing.
Yeah.
But the next, a significant part of the build up or the sort of the presentation of the report or the release of the report will be sharing information locally and beyond.
And I'm only saying it because I think it's fantastic work, and I think the more people that understand, it's optimistic. It's an optimistic platform, let's put it that way, and we need a little bit of optimism right now. Okay.
100%. Commissioner KATZ.
Yeah, I really want to acknowledge how historic this work is. It's been a long road to get to this kind of in-depth equity work at DWP. I know prior commissions before us, did some initial work with equity white papers and early work. And to see that evolution, to see us get to this level of depth, I'm still also making my way through the 900 pages, but really appreciate this detailed presentation and briefing. I think for the utility and the city to really be in a place where we're fully acknowledging systemic racism and policies that have come before and the damage that's been done, and taking a restorative approach of actually engaging the communities that are most impacted, working hand in hand with environmental justice organizations, is not only important for LA 100, but for the department as a whole. I think this project and the work that's been done here can be a model for how LADWP can start to incorporate equity throughout our work at the department and in many of our different planning efforts and policies. In my role at UCLA, prior to becoming a commissioner, I was one of the stakeholders in the advisory group for LA 100, and part of that initial work where we saw that there was this gap and this need for this type of equity work, and so to see it really get fully engaged at the depth and how extensive it has been is just really really amazing. It's really wonderful to be here at this moment and to see the report ready for release. That said, I know there's a very long road ahead of us to actually make this happen, and so I'm encouraged to see that there's real concrete plans of how this integrates with the STLRP and with department planning processes. Very much looking forward to future updates and tracking and the metrics development for how we move forward. And I just want to emphasize, as others have said, that this is not just about LA, but this is really about LA is very visible, and this is about setting an example for the nation, for the world. I know for us at UCLA, we're embarking on our decarbonization study. We're sort of a city within a city, 80,000 people. And we will definitely be sharing this work with the team that's working on that study. And as we do our own climate justice and equity work, that this really has some excellent frameworks that can be a model for us and for many organizations, other utilities, as we all work together on decarbonization. So I really want to congratulate the team. I know this has been an incredible amount of work, and looking forward to supporting and helping LADWP lead as we actually implement and create the policies to make this happen. So thank you.
One last thing. I noticed that the Housing Authority, HACLA, is involved. I think that LAUSD is one of the largest landowners. I'm assuming they're part of this, the
I
process.
don't know that they were on the steering committee, but that certainly is an organization. I'm sorry, steering committee. I don't know that they were on the advisory committee, but that certainly is an entity that we would want to engage with as we move forward.
Okay, good.
Commissioner.
Before I ask my question, I probably should also have started with congratulations. I was lucky enough to be with the board president at that September 21st meeting and to get to see the larger version of this presentation in person and ask some direct questions and be with members of these community advisory groups and really see some of this sausage getting made. And it really is an incredible effort. And I think really what strikes me about it, apart from everything that Commissioner KATZ and others have said so far, is really the clarity and the precision and the power of the language, especially in places that we have failed or fallen down on our sort of responsibility to serve all of our ratepayers. Places where our incentives have disproportionately benefited people of higher incomes, for instance, like the kind of clarity that this report has in where it lays out our challenges and sort of turns them into opportunities and puts us on the record about where we're going and how we want to get there and the specific levers we need to push and what partners we need to come along beside us. I think that's going to be really one of the most powerful parts of this. It puts all of those other partners kind of on notice. We're coming for you and we need your help. I'm really happy to have all this on the record, and I'm really congratulatory of the department sort of unflinching kind of bravery in saying these things out loud and in saying them clearly and starting to address some of these historical injustices with a view to healing and reparation that I think is super important. I'm a water guy, so I'm also anxious for us to get our arms around some of these same considerations when it comes to water. So I'm just putting that on the record to our CLO over there. I am, particularly anxious to have some of these conversations around sustainability and access to our resources, especially as water prices go up over time. I think the last question I have is, we've talked about a lot of groups we're socializing this report with going forward. One of the groups we talked about were our labor partners, but we didn't talk much about how we're going to socialize this inside the department. So with report release, I'm curious what our engagement strategy is around employees. I mean, I know employees were really heavily engaged around LA 100's rollout, and so a lot of them are probably going to see this and wonder how it's going to impact their work. I wonder where we are with that audience.
So it's a very good question, because the reality is that unless they're engaged, unless they understand how this impacts them and what their role is, there will be a challenge in rolling this out. And I think the reality is that the good thing is that I think the majority of the folks that administer these programs and have a role in power planning have seen pieces of inequities throughout the course of just executing their day-to-day work. And they've actually put a lot of effort into try to address them, but we've not had the overall organizational alignment that you see right now, from the board to the executive management all the way up and down the organization. So I think it's fair to say that staff is ready to really change the way that we do business, the way that we roll out programs, the way that we develop, but there has to be a change management aspect to that. So over the last couple of years, there's been a lot of work that's been done for the study, a lot of the analysis, a lot of data requests, but there really hasn't been that deep engagement through the department of what this means, why are we doing this, what does it mean for you? If you look at LA 100, we didn't have to explain the why to our organization and to the public. even if you didn't believe that you need to decarbonize, you understand why people are doing it. You understand why organizations are doing it. With respect to equity, it's something that a lot of folks that believe in this still don't understand why and what the implications and what the historical background is on that. And that's where we have to look inward and figure out what that is. So we don't have a change management plan in place yet. We need to put that in place, as well as that action plan that you alluded to before. So I do think it's very fair to say that by the end of the year, as Commissioner McClain had asked, that we not only bring our action plan to the board, but also the engagement plan with our employees as well.
Thank you. All right. I just want to say that I am overwhelmed by the level of work that has been achieved over what has been an intensive 2-year project. But what has, we have to understand a project that took place on the backdrop of a pandemic, in the midst of a social justice crisis within the United States, and through so many challenges and struggles that it was remarkable that it stayed on course, and that is a testament to the efforts of our external partners and the employees here at DWP, and for that I am very grateful. Could not be in more debt to NREL and to UCLA for the stellar contributions that they've made to actually taking the, as you say, concept of equity and beginning to really transform it into something concrete and measurable, and to put it out in the world, to help us put it out in the world in a way that it is undeniable and compelling to the community-based partners. They have been quite remarkable. They show up, they have deep and probing questions, they have been deeply engaged in informing, influencing, and directing this work in ways that I've not seen in terms of the collaboration between a public agency and its and the people it serves. Really, what I'm most proud of is the degree to which this department has convened all of our stakeholders, our academic partners, the research, the community, our own internal resources, have taken these conversations out of the silos in which they often exist and brought it together with a focus on both facing reality and creating solutions. To Mr. Pierce's, or should I say Dr. Pierce's point, this is not nearly over. We have just begun, and this work is always painstaking and appears to be slow and never ending, and yet there are moments when we have breakthroughs where we see the impact of the work, where it stands in the fullness of our intention. The policy this board passed preventing shutoffs, protection for low-income customers and for customers during heat emergencies is one such moment. The feedback we get on Project Powerhouse, I just consistently is yet another such moment, and there are others. And to Jason's point and observation, the enthusiasm of our workforce to think about service and the fact that we create a sense of both possibility and promise is half the battle. I think we all believe and see that it is possible. And our work together continues to increase the sense of promise. We can and we will do this together. Thank you so very much. I look forward to the full release of the report, to the ongoing briefing of stakeholders, and to continuing the work. And Commissioner Lehr, you made an excellent point about our featuring aspects of this work in bites throughout the year. Commissioner McCraw, I know that the work around equity, biodiversity, and water is moving forward apace, and look forward to some really exciting work that Commissioner KATZ has been leading, along with Commissioner NEEMAN Brady, seeing the light of day very soon. So to the department, again, great gratitude. Our COO has been beaming throughout this presentation, so I will simply look and see if you had any comments that you'd like to make before we move on to our next item.
So I think the point was made that this is great information and this is great platform for us to actually build our future policies, plans, and actually get things done to make sure that we'll never be in the same situation again as we move toward decarbonization and electrification and all those programs that we need to implement. So very, very proud to be in this moment in history.
All right. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We are now at filed items, and I simply want to note that item J2 is being removed by the power system. There will be some adjustments to that item, and it will be resubmitted for our review. Are there any questions or comments regarding item J1?
Not this time.
If not, then we'll move on to minutes. Is there a motion to adopt K1 and K2?
So moved.
I'll second. Would you call the roll?
Commissioner KATZ?
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner McCraw?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
Thank you. Then I called item L1. Joe, would you please come forward?
Good morning.
I was going to say before you start, thank you, and to just alleviate any concerns, I'm very supportive of item L1. However, I thought a presentation would be in order, as it gives us an opportunity to both identify and highlight ongoing work around communications, but also to underscore the significant role that our communications team will be playing as we move forward, both around equity strategies and in the delivery of the range of customer-focused programs that we have highlighted and that we will be working on going forward. And to acknowledge the ongoing need to ramp up, as we have noted through the work that was presented here today. So with that, Mr. Vermont.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Commissioners. I wanted to take a moment, as the President said, to provide you an overview of the campaigns that we have run significantly through this contract, Fraser Communications, which is before you in item 1 today. This was a planning and placement contract where we had the expert services. I'm joined today by Renee Fraser, the owner and principal of Fraser Communications, really to help us extend our reach significantly on key initiatives of the department for customer participation. In addition to that, key initiatives that the department has undertaken. You'll see here on the screen some of those initiatives. This started as early as really during COVID in some of the COVID communications and customer assistance programs that we were offering to our customers with the message really that we're here to help. We continued that with programs such as Easy Save, which I'll show you some of the results on in a moment. Continued through to new initiatives such as Cool LA, where we really did a significant amount of advertising in the community in order to push not only customer participation, but customer appreciation for the types of ways in which we were helping them. A major effort that was undertaken as a part of this, and you'll see in a moment, was under the unprecedented drought conditions that we faced on the water side. We actually spent
a little over a quarter of our entire advertising budget on that effort. We regularly do advertise on our programs, and including on the drought and water conservation, but given the unprecedented nature, that particular effort was more than doubled from what we had initially planned or thought that we would be spending, which is in part the reason we are here today asking for not more time on this contract, but additional funding to be able to continue this work and to expand it into more community-based advertising. Just briefly want to show you the water conservation efforts that we undertook. This was significantly run through May and November of last year, just before we had the significant rain where we were able to back off a little bit of that messaging. We continued it really, but the biggest effort here was during the months that you see on this page. Also want to provide an updated number. This was the fiscal year GPCD. I don't want to give wrong information here and lack of credit to our water conservation team, but that GPCD rolling at this point is 102 gallons per capita per day, which is really incredible considering the amount of water that customers had already saved prior to this drought. We ran advertising across a variety of platforms, everything from re-familiarizing our customers with the watering days of the week to water conservation tips. We shared not only our own creative, but we piggybacked and ran alongside the messaging that was put out by the Metropolitan Water District to really amplify and drive the results that we saw in this campaign. In addition to that, we have been partnering with our EV team to continue to promote our EV rebates, as well as the value of driving EV and the electrification movement. This campaign was run specifically for about a little over, 22, for a few months last year into the beginning of this year. We did experience an increase in EV rebate applications and website visits, et cetera, as a result of that. This is a significant effort that we're going to continue under equity strategies and expand, and that's another focus that you'll see in a moment when we talk about the next steps and what the additional funding will be provided for these various campaigns. Under Easy Save, this was the program that combines both our low-income program discounts as well as our Lifeline program, and acts as a gateway for key programs like Cool LA and the significant near-free rebates that customers can receive through Cool LA program. This one was challenging because during COVID, we lost a lot of our enrollees in the low-income program. So we spent a lot of effort here, both on the paid side as well as earned and direct email to our customers and through other channels to reach our customers, and we actually increased enrollment in the program 25% to bring it to over 150,000 customers. We have a lot more work to do in that space, but this is just an example of really when you are able to provide a coordinated communications campaign, including significant paid advertising, you can really drive results, as we saw in the Easy Save enrollments. I do want to mention that all this creative is done by our creative services team in-house. We have incredibly talented graphic designers as well as PR reps who work on these customer communications campaigns. Cool LA, I want to make sure I have the latest numbers for you on this because this is a campaign that we've ran both to promote the beginning of level pay as well as the Cool LA rebates. And let me just take a moment because I got some new numbers just before coming to you today that I want to make sure and share with you. To date, between last summer and this summer, we have 7,500 air conditioning units that have been rebated for our customers. That's a total rebates of $1.14 million on Cool LA. We've gotten great publicity on this, both from the earned media through print coverage and digital sharing, as well as digital ads, direct email, direct mail, using basically all channels approach here. For spending what we spent, which is about $264,000 on this campaign, we're very pleased with those results, and we want to be able to continue our Cool LA outreach really at the community level in addition to this overarching mass media communications and advertising campaign as we move forward with the equity strategies implementation. Just again, touching on prior campaigns, the financial assistance campaign, this consisted at one point, as you may recall, with customers having to submit applications for assistance. Then there was automatic credits that were applied to them, all the while trying to encourage customers to sign up for payment plans and bill discounts. A lot of different pieces that came together where we directed customers to a single web page where they could access this information. This was a significant investment as well of approximately $600,000 to encourage our customers to participate in those grant programs as well as those grant application programs that we had during COVID. I just wanted to share with you some of the other formats we have. We have been really pleased with using these delivery trucks. These are trucks that are out in the community. They're wrapped with our advertising messages. It's a company that's based here in LA, and that we've been very pleased to partner with them. There's also been grocery store spots as well as gas station pumps in various communities. Just wanted to let you know we go beyond just sort of traditional digital and online advertising venues. We try to catch the customer where they are with our creative and driving them to our website and our programs. We also used this contract to ensure that we were reaching customers in their native languages, so we used it for our translation services as well. So this is just a breakdown of the funds that were spent on this contract by outlet, just to give you an idea of where we spend a lot of our money. Radio is expensive, but it's not as expensive as broadcast television in the entire market. As you know, we serve the city of LA, but the DMA, the marketing area, is Los Angeles as well as Orange County into San Bernardino and beyond. So TV we don't typically advertise on as much, but we do push a lot of social video. Our biggest expense really is on radio, and in part, again, we're reaching beyond the city of LA, so there's a cost-effectiveness issue there. It costs us a little bit more to reach those residents in the city of LA using radio because we're broadcasting well beyond the city limits. Just to give you an idea, additionally, on outdoor advertising, print, and web as well. These are some of the campaigns that we will be focusing on moving forward, some of the ones that are familiar. One that we added as a result of some of the issues that we know that we're very serious regarding downed wires and safety for our customers is a campaign that we will be launching in a matter of a few weeks. That will include a mailing to every single one of our customers the downed wire messaging and safety messaging to call 911. To ensure their safety, especially as we get ready to get into the more active weather storms that we'll start seeing in the wintertime. Continuing with advertising related to customer assistance, and especially with a significant push around level pay. We're beginning that campaign right now as well. EVs and shared solar will go beyond these two topics, but just wanted to highlight them as equity strategies really will be driving a lot of our communications moving forward. So in looking at the contract and where we were in asking for the additional funding moving forward for the next year, we really wanted to determine how best can we go beyond just traditional advertising. What can we do to partner with media outlets? There are media outlets all across Los Angeles who will enter into unique partnerships with you for sponsored content, for events, for ways in which to bring people together to be exposed not only to your programs, but to you, to your employees, et cetera. So this is just some of the specific aspects of the contract expansion in addition to item 2 on your agenda today, where we will work collaboratively with media partners. I'll touch on some of those partnerships in a moment for custom print editions, community engagement events, in-depth articles or featured content, having executives or staff on shows in order to promote the programs, to promote employment at DWP, or special radio segments and programs they can join, in addition to the earned media that we focus on. These are just some of the ones that we have under development right now. I want to stress these are our draft, with the exception of KBLA, which we got a head start on, getting some of the details together with that particular outlet. But we are looking at specifically with KCRW, La Opinion, LA Focus, for the kind of of content that I was mentioning, or events, or sponsoring, underwriting a particular beat reporter that they have at a particular media outlet. So these are some of the activities and some of the specific additional value adds that we're working on with these media outlets. In addition to, I should mention, in addition to these, we've also reached out, and I didn't include it here because we haven't discussed details yet, but with Korean media, both print and radio. It's an important, very important community in the city. We also will be open to looking at other outlets. I know that there's a significant Chinese media presence as well in the city of Los Angeles that is important for us to also consider these types of creative partnerships with. So in addition to the baseline advertising that we'll be doing through Fraser, we'll be also engaging in these types of media partnerships as well. So the original $6 million agreement was with Fraser that was awarded by the board. That was from August 2nd, 2024, with an additional option to extend for 2 years. We basically spent the vast majority of that budget in the first 2 years of what was supposed to be 3 years. So we're coming back to you for that third year now for these additional funds. I can answer any questions that you might have.
Questions?
I had questions, but your last few slides answered them. I wanted to know more about what we're doing in terms of multilingual communication and reaching underserved audiences, and it seems like that's definitely being addressed this round, which is really good, so thank you.
Both underserved and multilingual really are the key areas for us because it's just a lot harder. It's a lot easier for certain communities to go online and figure out what we're offering or see an ad, but really specializing in those multilingual and lower income communities. The reality is folks in certain communities, whether it's the East Side or South LA, don't really connect or with us the way that we would like to, and that we're not effective in reaching them. So we're hoping to do an even better job in that regard with this additional.
Glad to hear that. I think we need to meet people where they are, and I'm glad to see the department working on that.
Other questions or comments?
Is there an opportunity to use any of the data coming out of the LA 100 equity strategies around incentive use and some of these particular sort of geographic areas and neighborhoods where we know that there's disproportionate levels of use to target some of this advertising?
Definitely. We have so much data from the Equity Strategies Initiative that tells us where customers are accessing our programs, what programs they might want to see. And I know that we will be following along closely and working alongside the program team in terms of what's being developed and informing them, frankly, on some of the strategies that might work there, especially when it comes to branding and really connecting with customers in a way that they can relate and get excited about.
I'll be really interested at the end of that 1 year period to know how successful we were at moving some of those numbers based on these advertising investments. I think this is a really cool opportunity to get some of our data immediately into use.
And I do have a question. It's funny coming from me, but sports teams, a lot of the sports teams, as you know, have, sort of well-endowed, community-driven sort of communication programs. And also they pay for playing fields and programs. I'm just wondering, I seem to remember when the drop cam first came out that I saw it at a couple of.
That's correct.
And I just wondered if that works, if we would consider it.
I did not include it here because this was, we don't run those contracts through the Fraser agreement. We actually negotiate and execute those directly with the teams, but we do have existing partnerships with USC, UCLA, LA Football Club, Angel City, I believe, as well, the Dodgers, Rams, and Chargers.
Right.
We generally do those directly with them because we'll negotiate a pretty good deal. We do ask for sort of outside assistance in evaluating those as well.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers Foundation, which has been a great place for us to partner with them when they're out in the community because they target a lot of those same harder to reach communities that we want to reach as well.
And so, it's not just advertisements at the stadiums when there's a game, but they have programs where they build fields and then they also help run the program. So it reaches, sports is still a very
The live action sports is where the audiences are, either in person or on broadcast. So we actually run a lot of our ads during live sports events. Each of those partnerships includes airtime, whether it's UCLA or USC. The Rams and Chargers and Dodgers during their games because that's when people are listening.
Yeah, okay.
So, thank you for asking.
Thank you. I want to first acknowledge the significant expansion of our outreach and communications efforts, and the thing speaks for itself. We see that we've made progress in a number of areas, in particular enrollment in our low-income programs, and also the uptake around Cool LA are pretty, impressive deliverables. I am really looking forward to our expanded collaborations, both through this contract, but also on an individual basis with community-based media, especially because in those agreements we can do things that don't look like advertising, but that really become, more education. And that are being moved forward, not just, by DWP, but that really to the point where we're sponsoring content and things of that nature that are being moved forward by trusted messengers that are specific to those various communities. So I'm anxious to see a great deal more of that in a place like Los Angeles, where we've got so many micro entities or micro communities that we should be targeting. I also will be looking forward to, and I know this is not in your shop, it's in DEI, but it was referenced in the presentation as part of the department's response in the LA 100 Equity Strategies presentation, partnering with community-based organizations. And this board actually did pass, in the context of our low-income shut-off prevention motion, a direction to expand our efforts to work directly with community-based organizations to fund those efforts in order to foster greater penetration and communication around DWP, programs and, again, and education. So I am very anxious to see that become built out. I know that there's so much going on all the time, and the department is really doing an awful lot in so many spaces that I'm happy to have the opportunity to highlight what's being done in your area. So thank you. And also with customer service falling under your area of expertise or your area of responsibility, really want to commend and to reinforce the degree to which there is this thoughtfulness around not only what we do and how we do it, but how we communicate it, and then measuring its impact, uptake, and effectiveness. So with that, I'd like to make a motion to approve L1.
Seconded.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner KATZ?
Aye.
Commissioner LEHRER?
Aye.
President McCLAIN-HILL?
Aye.
Commissioner McCGRAW?
Aye.
4 ayes, motion adopted.
Terrific. I
Thank
think
you.
that brings us to the end of, I'm sorry, Mr. Benjamin.
More information about the outreach question, Commissioner McGraw asked for,
Certainly.
if you're okay. So I wanted to give you a comprehensive answer, so the staff did a great job of giving me the background of the actions that they've taken. So to answer your question, yes, we have reached out to the tribes and given the information and the newsletters. We've also done a lot of the outreach through the radio and newspaper advertising with the English and Spanish language. We've reached out to the city and the county and actually used them to multiply the message throughout the community by having their website include the information that we want them to distribute to the population. We also used our staff that lives in Owens Valley. They are the most effective spokespeople in the community. They've used the information there also to spread the word out there. And then this week, we're taking ads in the Owens Valley newsletter in order for that message to go all the way to the October 12th event for that outreach program.
Beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Terrific, and thank you for getting back to us before the close of the board meeting. I think it's
That's
now.
efficiency.
Exactly. I now will turn it over to Julie to take us into closed session, and the board will retire into its conference room for closed session. Julie.
The board shall recess into closed session for a conference with legal conference regarding the items listed in agenda item M. After the closed session, the board will publicly report any action taken in closed session and the vote or abstention thereon of every member present in accordance with California Government Code 54957.1.
Thank you. I think the mics are still live.